Welcome back to ADHD Fabrication, and welcome to the story of me not knowing what the hell I'm doing and still getting it done anyway. Today we're going to get back on the Volkswonda, which is a mid-engine rear-wheel drive 1991 Honda Civic with a Vr6 and 02M 6-speed manual transmission out of a 2002 Golf shoved into the back of it. We need to figure out how to get all this suspension mounted, and as the story goes, I took 2 measurements too little to be able to know exactly what I need to do here. In today's episode, we're going to try to figure out those measurements that I didn't get so that we can get this suspension put in time and place where it's supposed to be, which is really important so that my wheels aren't dragging weird ways. It took a minute to do a little bit of research and develop a plan. So I did quite a bit of research into how mid-engine rear-wheel drive race cars work and companies with a lot more money for research and development that don't fabricate off of vibes like I do to be able to figure out and me to just steal their answers. I'll read you through my list of what we're gonna go through and do, and we'll work on getting there. So one, we need to start with getting a good reference point. So we're gonna get the exact ride height to the subframe and the chassis and everything. Step 2 is going to be like the alignment. We're going to align the toe and the camber. Step 3 is I'm gonna have to spend a little bit of time studying our shocks and figuring out total usable travel and stuff. I'm gonna try to see if there's any usable information on the internet. A lot of it I'll probably have to figure out myself, which will probably be a big time sink. And a big part of that is my total coilover height at ride height. If I knew that measurement, then we could align everything, put the top mounts at our height, get them where we want them to be, and then start reinforcing everything, and then we'd be a rolling chassis. The issue is I have to guesstimate and do a bunch of research and figure stuff out because I didn't take a simple measurement. We're gonna mock up the coilover at the correct angle, get our inward lean, make our dummy strut. I might make a dummy strut. I might take the coil out and then compress our dampener until we're at what our ride height measurement would be. I don't know yet. It's whatever's gonna be easier. But however we end up doing it, doesn't matter. We'll be able to determine our measurement to where our top mount will be for our suspension in the back here, and then we'll be able to devise some sort of a temporary mount so that we can do some sanity checks as far as clearance. I already know our tires aren't going to clear our wheel tubs like at all. A bunch of that's going to get cut and go away, but we'll figure that out later. Sheet metal is less important to me right now than the structure of everything, and a lot of everything on the sides here is going to get covered up by a wide body, so if it's missing you won't know. Alright, I got impatient because my air compressor is small, so I didn't get this thing completely cleaned off, and the other side's maybe 85% of the way there. But regardless, they're cleaned off enough, and the edge is cleaned off, and they're sanded down at least well enough that I can bolt them to this, and we can start figuring something out. Essentially, this is going to be my platform. Since they use these weird bushings, I'm just going to retain the stock ones. We'll have a bar that comes around this and is welded to this. And then we'll also run bars down to a couple places. We'll reinforce it to the subframe. The problem in our story is that I didn't take our measurement, so I don't know what our coilover measurement should be when it's in ride height position. My best guess is about maybe 20 to 21 inches. Might change a little bit if I think about it and don't like it, but I think that's right. We need to go down about 2 1/4 inches from where this currently is. We have our angle coming in. We have our angle going front to back. We're at ride height. Our camber and our toe is looking pretty fairly good. Now we're at the point of just getting our measurement that we're happy with for where our ride height measurement should be, and then getting that thing mounted, which will involve finishing sections of the roll cage because it's going to be tied into that. Alright, we gotta finish cleaning this one up and then clean up the other one, and then we can start getting them tacked in. And then we can work on the crossbars that our suspension hi-hats will be mounted to. Okay, I got both of these completely cleaned up. It's time to start tacking them in. Okay, I've been doing a bunch of boring stuff off camera trying to get these lined up, but in order to be able to figure out where we need this, like I said, I either was going to build a pipe and take out this section of the strut and put a pipe in there that is at the height that we need. I think to get a more accurate depiction and measurement, I would like to take these springs off. I don't have a spring compressor. I might be able to borrow one if this doesn't work, but I'm gonna attempt sketchy stuff. It's not even that sketchy. If I get the coils off, then I can compress this dampener, get it directly at the height that I want, and then weld it all in and then put the springs back in and reinstall them. As well as if I have the spring out, then I can take the wheel out and compress and let everything sack out and make sure we don't have any binding issues on the CV. So let's get those out. I've got both hi-hats secured in with a little piece of angle just to make sure it doesn't move, doesn't go up and down. The bend on this bar is a little more intense than the bend on that bar over there, so this hi-hat is a little bit further. It won't matter for the effect of it driving, it'll just look a little bit different. If you pay attention to this and then walk to this side and pay attention to this, there'll just be a lot smaller of a gap with less metal right here, but I don't care. I'm learning. It'll be fine. So now, in theory, those should both be sitting exactly where we need them, to where when we put springs in them, this car will be sitting exactly at this height for ride height. This was definitely a bit of a trial and error, pain in the ass thing of doing a whole bunch of research and trying different heights and guess and check. And this still could be wrong. I'm not 100% sure, because what we did here is we raised the subframe and the engine probably about 3 inches, effectively lowering the car 3 inches while retaining all of our geometry for our suspension. So what that means is that this tire is going to have to tuck quite a ways into here at full droop but it'll also mean that this thing should ride really aggressively. Aside from the fact that the front end suspension geometry is going to be stock, so I can lower that, but in the future I'm gonna have to do something about that. So at this point, I think it's time to take off the wheels and see how the geometry looks when I try to raise and lower it. Okay, we articulated it. We still have like an 1.25 inches that this could compress more, which what that means is now that we're hitting here, that would only need to go, I mean, at most about 1 inch, because 1.25 inches up there probably translates to a little bit less down here, and we certainly have that. This is probably 4, maybe 5 inches from the axle to this bar here. So I'm pretty confident that if we put the R32 sway bar in here, this will no longer contact and we'll have plenty of gap right there. It should be fine over on this side too, but we're gonna double check just to be sure. This side's got about 1 inch left to compress with the sway bar contacting this bar, which means it's even less movement, and we've got about the same gap there. So I think an R32 sway bar will solve all of our problems as far as that clearance goes. I bent this before I even started building these bars because the idea is exactly this. Have something that loops around just like that and then ties into this bar here and that bar here. Have all this Okay, this is super exciting. We have our rear suspension temporarily mounted, and I'm pretty fairly confident in where I have it mounted. The only dimension that I'm kind of worried about is the same one that I explained that I should have taken a measurement of when the car was still in one piece, is our ride height dimension. Because if I knew the measurement of our strut at ride height, that would have saved a lot of time for trying to figure out where this is, and that also means that I'm not 100% sure with where the dimension is. Like I explained, I did the proof of concept with this hoop. That hoop is gonna go around and that'll add a bunch of support. I'll make that for both sides, and then I'll tack it in and make sure it's all well enough welded that I can put the weight of the car on it, but not well enough welded that if I need to adjust it, I can't just cut it off. So the idea then is we'll get these hoops in, and then we'll be able to adjust the hi-hats up or down a little bit if we need to, but I'm hoping with where I have it that it's just good. But all that's gonna have to be in the next episode. We'll get these installed. We'll start getting it actually turned into a roller. Hopefully next episode it will just be a roller. If it isn't, that means something major is wrong and I'm having to cut stuff out and rework. So let's hope that's not the case. I hope you've enjoyed watching me learn how to do stuff and build stuff. You should do stuff and build stuff yourself. Go build something cool. Have a great day, and remember, don't let your meat loaf.